to rock and roll, boys and girls. Yes, sir, we are back. It's a beautiful Monday. Not that we ever left. I mean, if you were listening all weekend long, we gave you some solid programming all weekend covering everything that's going on here in South Florida and, of course, across the nation because we cover all subjects. Having some fun here. Bill, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning.
You ready to rock today?
Yeah, let's do this.
That's right. We got several hours of programming. We will take you up to Brian Flores' press conference, which will be at 2:30, and we'll hear from the head coach, and we'll get his thoughts on everything going on. I see we're back and fresh on YouTube, which is where we belong. You can always chat with us. It's exciting times. The website is up. BigORadioshow.com. We got some exciting things that we're brewing and working on for 2020. So it's it's really fun to see everything develop and everything going on, and the amazing support that we've had. Even the weekends, the downloads are growing even on weekends, and we're headed for another record month. Every month has been record month in downloads, and we got to thank all of you out there for all of that. So hopefully everything is technically sound now, and we're all good. And I see the folks are starting to appear on the chat board and all that good stuff. So we appreciate that on a weekend where we had a lot of things to go on. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 38-35. So how many of you were sitting there with a tanker, right? Because that's what's going on, right? It's a group of you Dolph fans, maybe 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, watching the games, right? And you're all arguing, and fun, having discussions about the Dolphins, talking about the draft, talking about draft picks. The one fan is saying, "No, I'm rooting for my team to win," like me. And then there's the other fan that's saying, "No, man, winning makes no sense. We've got to lose." That kind of stuff. So yesterday, you've got a 23-point lead. And I can imagine that the tankers were like, oh, they were disgusted, right? Oh, what is this team doing? And it's funny because I hear on Twitter, well, they struggled and gave up a 23-point lead to the worst team in the league. Let me explain something to some of you out there. The worst team in the league, by far, okay, is the Miami Dolphins. Do you understand that? Cincinnati's not the worst team in the league. They're the worst managed team in the league. Let's make sure we phrase it the right way. The Miami Dolphins have less talent than everyone else. They are the worst team in the league. The thing is, their coaching staff is not. That's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. Their front office is not. Because the front office and the coaching staff can win 4 games with practically no talent. That's pretty good. You can spin all you want. You can talk about tanking. You can talk about Chris Grier sitting in the back trying to sabotage his own team, which is, just some of the craziest things that are being said out there. You can do all you want. But when somebody tells you that they struggled against the worst team in the league, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay? Miami has no business losing to Cincinnati. No business beating Cincinnati. They have no business beating the Jets. They have no business beating the Eagles. None. At all. And they have. And so yesterday, the tankers, the sway of emotion of tankers, right? Because, they're disgusted by the 23-point lead. Think about that. It's your favorite team. They're looking good. They're kicking ass, and you're disgusted by it, right? Isn't it? It's weird. So then you got that going on, and then the sway of emotions because everything then comes back full circle. Cincinnati makes a run. And for those of you that are wondering, how could the Dolphins give up that? Dude, Seattle just lost to Arizona in a game they needed. So please, relax. I love how people make it sound like they're disgusted by them, losing the lead. Like good teams don't ever have bad days and bad moments. This is a bad team. Of course they can lose a 23-point lead. They're losing it to teams that have way more talent than they do. But yet, they show the character to compose themselves and win the game in overtime. Which again, while you want to look at it as a negative, I'm going to look at it as a positive. I'm going to say, well, wait a minute. This is a really, really young team. This is a really, really bad team. This is a team that has less talent than everybody in the league. They've already beaten now 4 teams that have way more talent than they do. And in this specific game, their 23-point lead crumbled. And yet they composed themselves and found a way to win the game. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a good thing, okay? That's part of the culture that they're trying to instill there. That, okay, you hit adversity, you hit a patch. Hey, this is just like life. What are you going to do, give in to the adversity? No, you don't give in to the adversity. You kick the adversity right in the freaking face. That's what you do. What the hell do you think I'm doing here now in the 4th month? I had adversity a few months back. Had to leave a bum-ass place, depressing, all that stuff. What am I going to do with adversity? You think I'm going to sulk? You think I'm going to sit there and say, oh, woe is me, all this, all, and no, hell no, dude. You don't do that in life. You get up, you face it, and you take it on. Everybody falls off a horse. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody fails. Okay, the question is, what do you do when that happens? Do you give in to the failure? Do you start making excuses? Do you start pointing fingers? No. You find a way out of the damn hole, out of the abyss. So you lost a 23-point lead. You find yourself in a difficult situation. Holy crap, what are you going to do? You're going to get demoralized and forget about it? No, you're going to stand up and make plays. Isaiah Ford, Mike Gesicki, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Devontae Parker, make plays, baby. And that's what I love about this season. I got to tell you something. I've enjoyed this season more than a lot of Dolphin seasons in the past. And I'll tell you why this crazy notion of enjoying this season. Because year after year, for those of you that have followed this show for a long time, you know I've been killing the Dolphins forever because I knew there was no method behind the madness. I knew you were just trying to make up for the mistakes of the year prior. And instead of actually addressing a problem, in Miami, they never addressed the problem. They tried to dance around it. They tried to put a lipstick over a pig. It was still a pig, but they were still trying to put lipstick and put some makeup on it and try to dress it up. It's a pig. And this year, I'm seeing a coach that is getting the max out of what he has. No, I'm sorry. I'm seeing a coach get more out of what he has, actually, okay? Let me phrase that. He's not getting the max. He's getting more than what you should get out of that group. And I'm watching a front office that is smart in eliminating the entire cap issue that they've had for years, all that dead cap money, load up on draft picks, and then I'm watching them find pieces that you can build on for next year as a foundation. Look, we all know, ladies and gentlemen, X and Wilkins, and, there's only a couple of, elite, not elite yet, but they're players. I mean, X is pretty close to elite, but Wilkins, you hope, gets there. Davin Godchaux's a pretty damn good player. There's Devontae Parker's turned into a complete stud. There's a couple of guys that you're going to build on, and then there's that secondary group that you're going to build on too, like the Nick Needhams and all that they're going to be key role players, key backups, things like that. But the meat of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be those 14 draft picks. That's where you're going to hope to hit on more stars and more foundational pieces to go with the foundational guys that you got here now. And that's why I feel great about this season. Because I've watched the Dolphins give up leads like that. And what usually happens, ladies and gentlemen, they lose the game. I usually watch the Dolphins and they cave in to adversity. I usually watch the Dolphins and they have very little character. This team has more character than a lot of the teams I've seen in the last 20 years. This team has fight, man. They just don't have talent. That's all. But if that's what the coach is going to get out of his players, and if that's the way they're going to play, because that's how they play down the street in Miami, go look at the Heat. Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to play hard. You're going to play right, or you're not going to play. And that's kind of what's happening here. And that's why if, you can spin it however you want to spin it, okay? Because that's what this is all about. I mean, that's how this country is. Fake news, whatever, and you create whatever narrative you want about anything going on in the world. You see it through whatever beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? That's what they say. All right? Well, I find this to be a beautiful season. I've had a great time. I really have, because I know better days are ahead. Because now I know that looks like to me like there's some structure. Looks to me like there's some coaches here now that you can learn from. And you can grow. Now they'll find their guys. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to find their guys. Look, Zach Seiler yesterday. That's a new guy they added. A 7th-round pick from Ferris State for the Baltimore Ravens. The 228th pick in the draft. 238th pick in the draft, I'm sorry. 6'6", 301. Dude had 7 tackles, 3 solo, and a sack yesterday. Are you kidding me? I don't know who he is. Maybe this is an this is just an aberration. This is something that he one time. Or maybe it's something they found. I don't know. That's why Taco's on the bench. I mean, Harris being inactive is not surprising. Taco, he's been your best. Not that he's great, but you don't have much. But it shows you that he hasn't been consistent enough that they'll put his ass on the bench to experiment with other guys. And that's what this season is about. See, the tanker thinks that they benched Taco so they can start the other guy because the other guy's worse than Taco. Yet this guy played better than Taco. And that's the part that the tankers don't understand. They're not trying to lose with young guys. They're trying to win with young guys. But they're trying to find young guys that are good enough to roll over for next year. They don't want an old guy to roll over for next year. They're willing to go old at one spot. What spot is that, Bill? What spot are they willing to go old at?
I would say like a kicker.
No.
Punter.
This guy's not even paying attention. Quarterback. Obviously with Fitzpatrick, because they'll keep him around, but they will not keep anybody else around that's old. Okay? So, anyway.
You're talking about right now.
Yes,
I thought you were talking about the I thought you were talking about the future. We don't want an old quarterback in the future.
Like I said, you weren't paying attention. Anyway, so the point is they are going to go with young, and they're going to keep filtering in young and filtering out. And they're not filtering in young to lose and manipulate and sabotage. No, dude, they're trying to find the next young guy that they say, all right, Nick Needham, all right, Preston Williams, all right, Vince Beagle, all right, Taco Charlton, all right. And then I don't know if Zach Seiler's that guy. I'm not sure, but maybe he is. And that's what they want to find out. I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. That's why yesterday it must have been funny for some of you hanging out with the tanker and the tanker's emotions, disgusted with a 23-point lead, excited that they lost the 23-point lead, and then disgusted that they lost again because the Dolphins came back and won the game in overtime. Meanwhile, those of us that are hardcore Dolphin fans, that we just call it like we see it, we just say, hey, man, that's a good moment for the team. That's a good learning moment for Preston Williams. Well, even though he's not on the field. It's a good moment for Zach Seiler. It's a good moment for anybody and everybody on that team they can watch. They played, whatever. That's a moment for all those young guys, for Nick Needham, for everybody, you name it. Whether you were playing, whether you were on IR, everybody on that team saw that there is no quit. Everybody on that team saw that there's no quit from the coaching staff, and they're going to find ways to win games. That's why they'll try onside kicks. That's why they'll try fake field goals. That's why they'll try anything that they can to try to win. That's why they'll try different players, because they're going to try to find a better combination. You think they're sabotaging? No, they're trying to find somebody better. I don't know why that's so hard to understand. But they're trying to find them in the direction of youth. That's all. And if they could find a young quarterback to do the things that Fitz could do, so they can look at Gesicki. Does Gesicki have this kind of a season with Josh Rosen playing quarterback? No. Does Devontae Parker have this kind of season with Fitz playing quarterback or with Rosen? No. You don't even end up signing Parker to a long-term contract if Rosen's playing all year. You know what we end up thinking? Same old Parker, not doing much. He's just a guy, 30 yards a game, 40 yards, 2-3 catches. And then we're blaming Parker because Rosen can't find anybody. Meanwhile, Fitz goes in there, Parker balls, and you can't do anything about it. You know what I love also is when somebody says yesterday, the Tankers, and we're all, happy about Devontae Parker and happy for his 1,000 yards. And some guy goes to me, well, it's just 1,000 yards. It's no big deal in this league. And you know what? Technically, there's some truth to that. Yeah, I get it. 1,000 yards is, 60-something yards a game, not a big deal. But in Parker's case, it's enormous. It's enormous because you've had all those injuries. So you stayed together in one piece, and you got over 1,000 yards. You got 9 touchdowns. And here's the best part, like I said in yesterday's podcast. You know the ball's going his way because he's the number one guy, because they don't really have any other weapon that's a threat like him. Gesicki is becoming one. Like Parker has arrived, Gesicki has improved. You know what I'm saying? And when they look at that offense, they go, we got to stop Parker. We got to stop Parker. We got to stop Parker. And they can't stop Parker. That's why the 1,000 yards are big. Because you know he's the only threat. You know they're going to throw the ball to him. And you still can't stop it. That means he's pretty good. That's why, that's what this is all about. I keep trying to explain this. But, hey, the Tanker must have really enjoyed it. The Tanker must have been frustrated, and I would imagine that some of you out there were entertained by the Tanker. Let me see what we got here. We do want to tell you that the program is proudly brought to you by Caneswear. We love Brett and all the great people out there at Caneswear, man, for all your tailgating needs, tents, chairs, tables, cornholes, flags, footballs, decals, magnets. They got it all, man, at Caneswear at Miami Fanwear. That's the spot where fans like me shop, folks, and you got to get on out there at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, folks, and go see Brett and all the great people out there. Tell them that Big O sent you. Trust me, they will take care of you at caneswear.com, and if you order $99, over $99, you will get free shipping at caneswear.com. All right, let me see what we got here on the YouTube chat board because it is loaded. Jay is saying good morning. Good morning to you all. George, good morning, boys. Ready to rock and roll. Thank you, sir. Michael, good morning, Big O. Emilio, good morning. Let's see, Michael. It's not where you pick, it's who you pick. No one is a guarantee. Amen to that. Alex, think about this. The Dolphins went from the worst NFL team ever to 5 best worst teams in the best of the worst teams in the NFL. Alex, talent-wise, I don't think there's ever been a team worse than the Miami Dolphins. That's why the accomplishments of Flores are amazing. They really are. Us diehard fans wanted us to lose. It made absolutely no reason for winning, no point for being sorry all season unless their plan was Tua all along, because 5 is where you want them. My man, their plan was never to lose games. Their plan was to reset the franchise. In the process, you're going to lose games because you're going to go young. But it's not like they were trying to get the number 1 pick. It's a really bad league, as you can tell. That's really what the NFL is. I've been telling you guys for a while now. It's terrible football. Very few good teams in this league. Honestly, it doesn't matter where they pick as long as they draft a QB for the love of God. And they will. And one of the things I got yesterday in the text was a guy goes to me, well, this is not considered a big-time year for quarterbacks. So, in other words, after Burrow and Tua, there's a major drop-off. So let me ask you something. When Aaron Rodgers fell to at the end of the first round, was that a big year for quarterbacks? Or when Dak Prescott fell to the fourth round, or Jimmy Garoppolo the second, or Drew Brees the second, or Tom Brady the sixth, or Russell Wilson the third? Shall I go on? Did they say that too? I'm just wondering. Because, if they're going to say that they're big-time quarterbacks, they're all taken early, right? I mean, Brady, 6, Wilson, 3rd, Rodgers, late 1st, Breeze, 2nd, Mahomes, 10th overall, Miami's at 5, Big Ben, 8th overall, Miami's at 5, Watson was number 12, Miami's at 5, Carr's a 2nd rounder, Dak's a 4th rounder, Wentz went number 8 overall, Garoppolo in the 2nd round, Cousins in the 4th. Did they say it was a weak quarterback year all those years too? People just pull crap out of their ass just to say it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And what, are you sure that Jacob Eason's not going to turn into a good quarterback out of Washington? Maybe the Anthony Johnson kid out of Washington State? Are you sure? Right, because, we're all positive that Lamar Jackson wasn't really going to be a good quarterback. And so far, he's had a phenomenal year. Now, personally for me, I still don't think that a quarterback will survive running 200 times a year, but he's survived so far. So, not the first time I'm going to be wrong, won't be the last. And we'll see if he can do this long term, but he was at the end of the first round, and they've gotten something out of that. Hell, they might end up in the Super Bowl when it's all said and done in the second year of that kid's draft. So this crap that, it's a weak year. How the hell do you know? How do I know? How does anybody know? I didn't know who Jimmy Garoppolo was until I saw him at the East West Shrine. And I go, yo, that guy's interesting. You never know. I liked Jarrett Stidham last year. And the Patriots have him. I don't know if he turns into anything, but it was one of those things that I'm watching the Senior Bowl. I'm going, damn, dude, this guy's pretty good. He's got some tools. Work with it. It's not a bad project to take. Maybe it turns into something. Maybe it turns into nothing. You don't know that, and neither do I. None of us are going to be able to figure it out because it's not a perfect science. And to assume that every quarterback you take at the top, Miami fell to 5, okay, they're out of it. So what you're telling me is that all the quarterbacks that were taken 1 or 2 or 3 were all hits? I'm sure you know that that's not true either, right? I'm sure you know that there's a lot of bust inside the top 5 at quarterback also. None of us really know. So this whole, you're hanging on the edge of your seat, and you think because they won, it hurt them. It's just ridiculous, man. You're giving yourself an ulcer for no reason at all. Everyone thought the Heat blew it by drafting 5th in 2003, then D-Wade happened. You never know which player falls and which player will be the star of the draft. Amen? Because if they get 4, Riley's on record, he would have taken Bosch. And everything changes with your franchise. Why? Because Riley has the love for the big man. And he would have taken Bosch. There you go. So that's all. And you never know if you end up with Wade here. Does Bosch bring Wade here and LeBron? Let's see. Tua at 5 unless someone trades up before the 5th pick. Since we have 2 more picks in the first round, it is a chance on his talent. Hey, like I said over the weekend, If you take Tua, you must take a second quarterback in that same draft. In the second or third rounds, you must take another quarterback. The same way Washington took Kirk Cousins when they took RG3, and Dallas took Steve Walsh with Troy Aikman. If you're not convinced, which Jimmy wasn't with Troy, and Shanahan wasn't with RG3, and you cannot be convinced with Tua injury prone. To me, look, I will understand if they make the move. I will not agree with it. Okay? I am not going to agree with taking Tua with the first pick of the first round. If he's still there for the third pick in the first round, which I know it won't happen because somebody will take him, then I would take him. But if the Dolphins want to be, desperate and take the guy in the top 5, then in that second and third rounds, you better take another quarterback. That's what I would do. I said that over the weekend. I think that's the only responsible thing to do. George says, I told you a couple weeks ago, Big O, when they were contemplating putting Parker on the IR, that the 1,000 yards was important to him. Yeah, no doubt. It is important to him. And it's important. What we talked about also, I said, it's also important for his confidence to come back, get on the field so his last moment isn't a concussion. We talked about that, yes. This show is getting better and better. Well, Miguelito, thank you very much, sir. What do you think? You're going to get this on local radio? Come on, man. That's wussy-ass radio they got over there. And you got a half-hour commercials. I've been talking for 25 straight minutes. Go see if you get that on any of those channels. See if you actually even get really good sports talk on those channels. You're going to get a whole ton of commercials. Okay? We've given you one spot of Caneswear right now. Quick 30-second mention. We're out. We're back on. And we get back with our conversation. That's it. Really quick. We don't torture you with 7-8 minute breaks, a traffic report that you don't need. You've got Waze, you've got Google, a sports update you don't need. You got your phone, you got your smart car. What the hell do you need, dude? It's ridiculous. They waste your time on all of that. Weather, I don't need weather. I have weather on my phone, bro. I have weather on my phone that it tells me that it's about to rain in my neighborhood in 20 minutes. How do I need you on the radio to tell me about weather?
Technically, you said we're back on. You never left, actually. It was a live spot. We never went away.
Yeah,
so technically, we weren't even back on.
Yeah.
There was no break.
No, there's no breaks. I'll take a break at the top of the hour for a couple minutes. For Christ's sake, dude. I'm a human. You know what I mean? So
You're not a cyborg man.
Oh, no, I'm not LeBron. I am not LeBron. I have a little cyborg in me. I think you've seen that already. Bill's face. But Miguelito, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Semi-psychotic.
Yeah, you have to be. Hey, Big O, what are the biggest needs for the Finns in this year's draft? Come on, Johnny. Are you really asking me that, bro? They need everything, my man. Everything. It doesn't matter. They need everything. Maybe, they're not drafting a kicker.
Wait, I was going to say,
number one wide
Sanders
receiver.
has done a heck of a job, man. I think we're pretty good there.
Yeah, and Parker. You don't need a number one wide receiver. Because clearly that guy is the number one wide receiver.
Preston Williams, too. You know what? Actually, kicker, let's say this. Kicker and wide receiver.
But wait a minute. If you're in the second or third rounds.
And there's a beast.
And there's a guy that you thought you had a first-round grade on him, and he fell. And I know you got Preston Williams, but you can't put that expectation.
You got a 4'3" guy with size.
Take him.
Exactly.
Take him. In this league, take him. Because you got to score.
You spread the field. You drop the safeties back. Helps your run game. Yeah, speed kills.
Yeah, you got to do it. Let's see. Johnny says, I love what Fitz is doing. We need to bring him back next year to help the young quarterbacks we draft. Johnny, you know what? I'm with you 1,000%. He's won me over. I was on record. I told you guys I didn't think it was anything. I didn't think it was important to have him around. I didn't think it was anything big, at the moment to have Fitz around because I think it was more about youth and the future. But watching what he's done for everybody else, it's really important, man. It's really important. He's won me over in that sense. And it makes a lot of sense, Johnny, to bring him back for everybody, for the young quarterbacks, for the psyche of the team, for everybody else. So that way, whenever the next young guy is ready to go, he kind of gets to learn how to carry himself. Because Fitz is never going to be, a Pro Bowl quarterback or a stud or anything like that. But for culture purposes, for the stage that the Dolphins are in right now, he's perfect.
Classroom.
Yeah, all of it.
You know what? I would say he's got to be a priority for signing.
Yeah.
Getting him back. It would so help that room. And, man, if you put him and Caldwell together, you know, imagine where our young quarterbacks could go.
Yeah. Miami Kid says, Big O, Jalen Hurts really impressed me this year. What do you think about the kid? Jalen Hurts, the problem with Jalen Hurts is that he's a mobile quarterback. He's not going to be a pocket passer. I don't buy those kind of guys. I don't think you live on your legs. That's the problem. And so that's where I would tell you I would not draft Jalen Hurts. That would not be the kind of quarterback that I would want for my team. I'm not convinced that that's the right guy. And then you've got to change your entire offense. You've got to find another backup that's mobile. He can't run. He can't do the things that Fitz does. That's not what he is. Lamar Jackson can't do the things that Fitz does. Lamar Jackson can't play traditional quarterback. You have to play his game, and I'm not a big fan of that game. I don't think you stay healthy in the long term. Things have gone well for Baltimore, but you know, I still fear. Look, I know Lamar's a phenomenal kid. I wish him the best. I hope I'm dead ass wrong like I am right now about him, and that he can continue to do this. But I don't think you can live on your legs in the NFL. Not a quarterback.
Because of his success, you could kind of understand why he has been successful. He came in and saved Alabama in the championship game. He's got some pedigree there, and obviously with what Lamar's doing, you can understand why some people are like, "Man, Hurts, why not? Look at what Lamar's doing."
Right?
You know,
I get it.
It's just you're still apprehensive because of how long is that going to last.
Yeah, I still don't believe Lamar will last in the league like this.
But you could understand why there's people out there.
It's going to be.
Hey, man, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Yeah. Lamar turned it around from last year.
Yes, he did. No doubt about it. Let's see. Big O, in simple minds speak. Next year, name a player on the team now that will be singing "Don't You Forget About Me," and that's because I've got my Simple Minds shirt. Nice job by you. What player will be saying next year, "Don't you forget about me"? I'm going to say it'll be Albert Wilson, who will be saying, "Don't you forget about me," and they'll say, "We did, and we cut your ass." Let's go to Flip Side Fishing. You have Fitz and Rosen as backups. Plans to Tua? No? Well, I would have Tua, I would have Rosen, Fitz, and I would draft another guy. I would have 4 quarterbacks on the roster. This team ain't 49 deep. They can afford to have 4 quarterbacks. Have Fitz, have the 3 young guys, have a pool of quarterbacks learning from Fitz. I mean, you've kind of told me already what you feel about Rosen. You know what I mean? So just throw him in there and let him compete. Remember, Tua's not going to be competing next year. With that hip injury, he's out pretty much the most of the season. So you really don't have 4 quarterbacks. This gives you a year to develop another guy. And then by the end of next year, you can trade one of those 2 other guys and keep Tua with him, and then you move on. That's what I would do. I'm telling you, if I'm drafting Tua, I'm drafting a second quarterback. That's what you got to do in this league. That's what the Dolphins have to do. If they were a complete team, they can do that. But they're so incomplete, they can carry 3 and 4 quarterbacks on their roster, and it won't make a difference.
People need to understand, even if you're just a serviceable quarterback, with the number of quarterbacks that get hurt in the course of the year, that guy has a value, as long as he's serviceable.
Yep. It was a big mistake to bring in Fitzpatrick. Should have just kept Tannehill. Would have won the same amount of games. No, not really. You think that. But Tannehill needs a team. Here's the problem, John.
He's got one of the best running backs in the league, number 1.
No, listen, John, go watch the game yesterday. Go watch it. And you'll see Tannehill did very little in that game. There were a couple short passes that the guys took for 50 yards. Well, there was a run from one guy from the backfield for, whatever it was, 41-yard touchdown or 50-yard touchdown. It's one of those things that I swear, it's like he's blessed that he was like in the right place at the right time, and it just like it's such a farce, dude. It's this mirage. You got to really watch it to be like, wow, this thing works out for him. You know what I mean? Because they all scored their points on those big plays, but when they need him to elevate, he couldn't elevate against Houston, couldn't elevate against New Orleans, and he won't elevate next week, and they'll be out of the playoffs. And then the idiots will look at his stats, and they'll say, oh, they look good. Yeah, let's re-sign him. But they don't realize that they look good, but he's no more than a facilitator. You got to watch the game yesterday. I watched the game, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing how everything works out for the kid. It really is. Oh, Lordy. They would not have won 4 games with Ryan at all, not this team. Good morning, Big O. My familia, stay dry out there. Don't be driving over puddles. We will not, sir. You drive safely out there. Let's see what else. The Waddle wide receiver out of Alabama is a rocket. I'd take him if he's there. He had 3 TDs in the Bama-Auburn game. He's good. All 3 of those guys are good. Hey, Big O, I would stay away from Tua unless he falls late in the first round. The NFL is changing. I think you should look at Hurts somewhere in the second round. You never know. They may. I don't believe in that kind of an offense, but maybe that's what the league is going to, in the direction they're headed in, and I'm going to be wrong. We shouldn't make the same mistake we did when we didn't draft Lamar, experiment with a winner like Hurts who can build and develop. Miami Kid says, Big O, we agree that the Charles Harris experiment is over, right? Oh, yeah, it's been over already. There's a pass rusher besides Ohio State kid that the Dolphins are going after. There's a few. There's outside linebackers, too, that they can have, and we'll get into that in the next couple of weeks now. And remember, we'll be hitting the East-West Shrine game very soon. The impression I've gotten is that Fitzpatrick has settled in with his family in South Florida, so it wouldn't surprise me if he sticks with the staff after he eventually retires. It could happen. You could be right. You never know. You might be right. I could see that. But I hope he stays one more year because they need him for one more year for developmental purposes. I would go with that. I think that would be a perfect move for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And remember, you can also reach out to us on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, which is 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line here on the show. What else do we got going on Dolphins-wise? They had 4 sacks yesterday as a team. And let me tell you something. The one thing that I love is how Parker has completely grown up. And to me, that becomes one of those things that when I was watching the game yesterday, okay, as a Dolphins fan, and I can only speak for people that are really real Dolphins fans like me, I was super excited about 2020. Seriously. Because like I told you guys and ladies out there, this season for me, there's a lot of method behind the madness. A lot of my frustrations over the last 20 years is because most everything they did never made any sense. There was no rhyme or reason. Whether you're mortgaging the future and grabbing money from the future into the present, signing older free agents, all that kind of, just so many different things that they've done over the years, coaches that they've hired, all of that stuff. Now, I watch what's it called, Parker, and I get excited about next year. You know what I mean? And that's where I would say that as a fan, that's what this season gets me all, like yesterday, I'm going, I can't wait for 2020 now. Because now I know the Dolphins have a number 1 wide receiver who wants to be a number one wide receiver, who wants the ball, who needs the ball, who's pulling one of those, a few good men. He's a Jack Nicholson. Right there. He's just like, give me the ball. Dude, he catches the ball, and then he looks down at the DB like, you're my bitch. I can't wait to watch Parker next year. Can you imagine Parker now going into the offseason, working out? Now he has the year under his belt that I imagined, that you imagined, that others in the media imagined, that fans all over the world imagined. So many of us, when they took him, I was, you guys know it. Anybody that watched that draft or was at with us for that draft at that bar, I was going nuts. That's the guy I wanted for a couple of months before the draft. It was like one of those predictions that you rarely ever get to predict the guy, unless it's the number 1, number 2 overall pick, and then it becomes really obvious. But at where Miami was at, that was the guy I wanted for months. And that gets me excited. Watching Gesicki with 2 touchdowns and what was it, 80, what did he have, 80-something yards yesterday? What the hell was it? Damn it. Where is it? 82 yards. 6 receptions, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dude, I'm psyched about that. I'm psyched about Christian Wilkins for next year now. I'm psyched about Davin Godchow for next year. I'm psyched about Jerome Baker. I'm psyched to get X back next year. I'm psyched to maybe put, McCain back at his regular spot.
Gesicki.
I said that already. Yes. Anyway, and so these are things that, like, I'm telling you, all this stuff, there's things to get pumped up about. And then people are just focused on the tanking and the negativity. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there. I don't know how many of you were like that, like me yesterday, but I'm watching Parker, and I'm just thinking about 2020. And I'm going, I can't wait for next year. I can't wait to watch this man have an entire offseason of building more confidence and his body up and everything else, and watching everything he did this year and say, I'm ready to take the league by storm next year. We haven't had a guy like this in forever, man. How long's it been that they have had a dominant wide receiver like this? The dude was there with the 72 team this weekend, a guy named Paul Warfield, like Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, Irving Fryer. I mean, this guy is, a special talent. I'm not going to put him up there with those guys yet because obviously he hasn't done anything compared to those guys. But what I'm saying is, that's how I feel about this kid. So why am I going to be bogged down with worried about all this other stuff? And like I've told you over and over and over and over and over and over again, most of those people writing, they don't give a rat's ass about the Dolphins. They care about their agenda. And a lot of them are just writing to hype it up in a negative fashion so they can get all the hits. So to me, that's where, when I look at this season and last night or yesterday specifically, Parker was one of those things that has inspired me immensely about 2020. Hey, look, I watch Isaiah Ford, complimentary receiver, Allen Hurns, complimentary receiver. Quietly, they got themselves a wide receiving core and a tight end. Because we no longer can say, not that I was saying it, but there were already people out there, which you don't do it after the first year, but they were calling him a bust. Charles Harris, that's stamp of approval, official, that's a bust right there if you've ever seen one right there. That guy has had every opportunity, and if you're not coming through with this coaching staff, then you don't got it. It's pretty simple. Because everybody else that's had an opportunity with this staff and can play shines. And if you don't shine, it's because you are what you are. That's a bust. Gesicki, drastically improved from last year. Now let's hope he takes that next Parker-like step next year. And then next year you got back you get back all the other guys, and you got yourself a pretty decent wide receiving core. To me, that's how I looked. I looked at yesterday while I'm thinking about the tanker, and I'm going, man, I'm opposite of the tanker. I'm looking at Parker, and it's getting me psyched for 2020. And it's funny because this season has been a crescendo for me. And I encourage you all to take this ride with me as Dolph fans, because I was excited that Chris Grier took over. I was excited that they wiped out all those salaries. I was excited about all the accumulation of draft picks. Did I want to see Tunsil and Fitzpatrick go? No, I will admit that. I hated to see them go, but the Tunsil trade was a great trade. Fitzpatrick, you're going to have to make it a great trade because you're going to have to get somebody worthy of that first pick that can replace him, and that's the pressure on Grier. But what are you going to do if somebody doesn't want to be here? So you run into that one, and again, adversity. We talked about this in the first segment, right? What are you going to do? Sulk? Your ass doesn't want to be here. We'll ship you out. We'll get a first rounder and a fourth rounder for you, and we'll do our best to replace you, and we'll move on. And that's it, man. You don't want to be a Dolphin? Get the hell out of here. But for me, it's all building. You know, everybody else looks at it as negativity. Not everybody else. I shouldn't say that. But a lot of people that are in the media that are along my side, and some fans, you know, especially fans that aren't Dolph fans, they're looking everything as a negative, right? Meanwhile, I'm looking at it all as a positive. All these picks, the young players you have on this team, the guys you'll be able to build. I can't wait to see these young guys roll over into next year, right? With the 14 draft picks, with a coaching staff that I think is looking pretty good. You know, that's the way I look at it. It's building. Instead of I'm telling you, I'm just not going to pay attention to that. I laugh at all of that because in another year, they're going to see the progress, and they're going to go, wow, the Dolphins are headed in the right direction. And by year 3, that they're going to be sniffing the playoffs. They might be a borderline type team. They're going to go, wow. You know, the Dolphins went through all that stuff, and it was really smart. All those people that have been slamming them. By that time, my crescendo is going to be exploding in volcanic, levels at that point. That's the way I think it's going to go. So why am I going to pay attention to the person that just thinks that the GM is sabotaging, that the coach is not trying to win, that the players need to tank, that it makes no sense to win, that it makes no sense to go young, that you should go sign older free agents so you can win 2 or 3 more games, that you should keep Ryan Tannehill. Why am I going to worry about all of that? I'm not doing that, man. I like where they're at right now. I like the direction they're headed in. I like what they're building. I think it makes all the sense in the world. You just got to have a little patience, and it's going to get better. Put it this way. Let me just ask you this. Tell me that where you started in early September, right before those 2 first weeks of the season, okay? Everything happens, the crap hits the fan, Tunsil's gone, Fitzpatrick, all of that stuff, right? Well, actually, Fitzpatrick came after that. But Tunsil's gone, all that stuff, right? They lose. Think about where you were at after those first 2 games. Now think about where you're at right now in week 16. Tell me you don't feel better. Admit it. Admit it that you have to look at the situation and say, I'm starting to see some kind of light at the end of the tunnel here. I kind of understand what they're doing. Kind of makes sense. They do look better. They are better coached. This is actually a pretty good coaching staff. Hey, they found a player or 2 here or there. Tell me you haven't said that. tell me you at least don't feel a little better about it right now. I don't expect you to feel like I do. Okay? I get it. I'm the guy that will, I don't dip my toe in the water. I dive right in. Okay? That's who I am. That's how I've always been. If I like what I see, I'm going to say it. If I don't like what I see, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to tiptoe around. I'm not going to pussyfoot with anybody. I never do that. You're always going to get from me exactly how I feel. So I don't expect a lot of you to have this kind of emotion about this. But for me, I love what I'm seeing. And I mean, Bill knows it. He knows that I can't wait to go to the East-West Shrine. He knows I can't wait to go to the Senior Bowl. I can't wait to cover this offseason. This is the most exciting offseason I've covered for the Dolphins in 20 years of doing this. Because this is the first offseason that I actually feel like they're building something real now. So it's up to you guys. You can look at it however you want. You can take what, and I get it, and I get the people, if our front office can figure it out, because they never do. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is not the same front office, dude. I'm not sure what you're watching. But if you watch what's gone on the last 10 months, it doesn't reflect like anything like the front offices of the last 20 years. Can't you tell? This is completely different. Time. And I think that's the only thing we can all lean on is time and say, all right, everything will be proven with a little time. 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program as we take you, of course, till about 3 o'clock. I would say at 2:30 we'll have Brian Flores' press conference. At noon, Chris Perkins from The Athletic is going to join us. We'll talk a little Dolphins with Perk at the top of the hour. At 1 o'clock, we're going to do something every day now. We're going to travel around the country. We're going to talk to reporters, beat writers, hosts, people that cover the top college quarterbacks in college football, obviously. And so Martin Houston, he is going to join us from 100.9 there in Tuscaloosa. He, of course, covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, has been around 2 of the last couple of years. So we'll get his thoughts on what he thinks of Tua and what he thinks Tua is going to do. I would imagine Tua is going to come out. But anyway, we'll get his thoughts on Tua and the injury situation and all of that. And we'll try to get a little focus piece for you on the different quarterbacks every day here on the show. All right? So we'll have a little fun with that. Remember, you can reach out to us on the accidentlawfirm.com text line. It's 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program. We do want to remind you that we're proudly brought to you by Craig Zins, Acura of Pembroke Pines, and we'll be there on Friday broadcasting live in the morning. And right now, 2020 models, you got to check out the TLX 259, the RDX 329, the MDX 369, only $29.99. Do it signing plus tax tag and registration, folks. Hey, and tell them that Big O sent you, Larry Schlossberg and Pat Nasto. It's a sales staff that is second to none. They will outwork everybody, and they will get it done. Tell them that Big O sent you at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. Finest dealership in the business, baby. It is Craig Zins, Acura of Pembroke Pines.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodsey can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
America's safest and best-selling compact luxury SUV is at Acura of Pembroke Pines, and this is how we do it. RDX, $339 a month at Acura of Pembroke Pines, the #1 volume Acura dealer.